Hey guys, welcome to morning. Why don't I know the intro to this thing after what, 81 episodes? God, it's been 81 morning teas. Cheers to that. Hey guys, it's Wahima, but just call me Wah. Melanated! Welcome to Morning Tea, where we sit in our sleepwear and discuss current events. Today's tea is, again, iced spiced chai black tea from Stash Premium Teas. I think that's what it's called. I need a sponsorship. All right, so let's start with some pop culture tea. Here's the tea. Let's talk about our friend R. Kelly. It is now time for the Black community to let that Negro go. I'm somebody who can separate the man from the music or the man from the legacy, and at this time, I think I have to let him go. I think it's time, right? Okay. So let's get into R. Kelly. Everyone has been talking about how R. Kelly likes to prey on young women. So there is a family now who is attacking R. Kelly publicly because they say that he has put their daughter in a cult. After reading all the information about it, I don't necessarily think it's a cult. I think that it's some sort of dom-sub relationship. I do think that it involves manipulation, but I don't want to demonize that kind of kink off the bat, because I do think that there are adults who have consented to that type of relationship with other adults, and it is part of how they want to live their life, and I'm not against that, not one bit. So the situation is that he's got a couple women in a house, either in Atlanta or Chicago, and he had, at some point, this woman no longer works there or works for him or is a part of his crew. He had a woman there to train these women as to how they can best serve R. Kelly. He wants them to ask when they can eat, when they can go to the bathroom. He wants them to tell them what color underwear they're wearing. The point where it gets bad for me is when he takes away their cell phones and doesn't allow them to talk to family and says that they have to have permission in order to speak to their families. I don't know. There's something about it that I could see would be alluring to people, to women who want some kind of structure, who are having some sort of psychosis go on where they want to be told what to do and they like it. I don't know that we will ever really know until they come out of it and say how they really felt about the situation. But I do think that them not being able to talk to their family is a red flag. I'm not quick to jump and say that what he's doing is a cult, but I am quick to say that he's manipulating and that something needs to be done about that. How we would go about doing that, I honestly have no answers. A lot of people want to blame the parents. They say that you know what R. Kelly's past is. Why would you allow your daughter to be around them? But a lot of people, especially in our community, don't really understand the severity of the situation dealing with R. Kelly. Because he has paid off so many people and so many families, no one really knows the scope of how deep and how far his manipulation goes. So you can say that, oh, why didn't the parents know? They thought they were going to be there to supervise. I don't blame those parents at all. I do think that at this point, they honestly legally have no ground because this girl is an adult and she's chosen to walk into this situation. And when she chooses to leave it, we'll see how it is. I think it could be a little bit like, what is it, Munchausen syndrome or something where like whoever your captor is, you don't recognize it as you being under manipulation, and you'd think that you are choosing to be in this, and if you were to leave it, you would feel like you feel bad or something. The jokes that I used to make are no longer funny, and I can't continue to support this type of behavior, especially when it's happening to women who look like me. So next in pop culture news, we have Toni, who is a Black Chyna's mother. She went on some rant earlier last week about Caitlyn Jenner. I get offended when people refuse to call people by the names they choose to be called. Simple human dignity, regardless of whether or not you believe in what the person is doing or who the person is. I think Toni is absolute garbage. She is pure bred, solid, homegrown tea rash. And this rant, I don't care if it's a ploy, because honestly, I didn't know who she was before this. Like, I don't even think about Black Chyna, so why the hell would I think about her mom, first of all? And I just get really embarrassed when Black women behave this way. I mean, you can have your opinions about things, and you can come out with them, but you don't have to be absolute garbage when you do it. Usher Raymond, ladies and gentlemen. So, Usher Raymond was sued by a woman for $1 point something million because he knowingly gave her herpes. He knew he had herpes. He got diagnosed in 2009, and he's had sex with this woman, I think, in 2012, and gave her herpes, and now she has herpes. Now there is another woman coming through who has recently had unprotected sex with him, and she is suing for, what, $15 million for emotional distress, and she hasn't even said whether or not she actually has herpes, but the fact is that she had unprotected sex with him, and he didn't say anything. And my thing is like, I mean, you may not agree with me, but for whatever reason in my mind, herpes is worse than HIV. HIV, you can live a normal, healthy life. The medication for HIV is like exponentially better than it was in the 80s and the early 90s. And now that people are actually coming out and being tested and on top of it, they've controlled it in a way. It isn't spreading as much in certain communities because those communities are going to get tested. Now it's still spreading in the Black community because the Black community is not going to get tested for that kind of stuff. Anyways, I digress. But I would rather have HIV than herpes. I'm just gonna like that. And so for him to know that he has herpes and not take all the precautions necessary to not spread it to someone, that is a big FU to Usher, like 150%. I personally would never have unprotected sex with a celebrity because I think they all have diseases, but like, girl, I would run Usher through the cheese grater. He would have to be my man and then pay for me for the rest of my life because I can't have sex with anybody else. I wouldn't feel comfortable having sex with anybody else because of that. And as you saw in my last video, guys, go get tested. Don't be playing with these fools. All right, let's do some domestic tea. Here's the tea. Okay, in Cocoa, Florida, some teenagers watched a man drown last week. And the teenagers are not brought up on any charges because in Florida there is no law saying that you have to help or call for help for someone who is dying or hurt. And a lot of people are very disgusted by this behavior. They filmed him drowning and they're yelling things at him like, get out of there, you're stupid, you shouldn't have done drugs and all that stuff. Now, do I feel that it should be a law that you have to help somebody in their time of need? No, because how do you draw that line? Like, if someone is like, I didn't think it was serious, I didn't know they were going to die, like I wasn't aware, like how does a court prosecute somebody who, when they say that, like, you don't know, it's a slippery slope. And I think it's a weird encroachment on like your American right to like be an individual and to mind your own business. So, I mean, what do you guys think about it? I think it's like a morality issue. I would call for help, but if there's other people who wouldn't call for help, who don't want to get involved, and I don't think that as a governing body that we should force people to do something like that if they don't want to get involved. But to film it and to put it on the internet and to have you hear your commentary about it, so maybe that should be a law, that you don't actually have to do something in the moment, but you definitely can't film it and put it on the internet for everyone to see, right? And Coulter, so child. And Coulter paid an extra $30 to sit in the exit row of an airplane on Delta Airlines. And when she got there, they had given the seat to somebody else. I'm not sure about the mix-up. Maybe they had double booked it. I don't know what happened, but someone else got the seat and she didn't end up getting it. So she went on a Twitter rampage and started talking about Delta Airlines, talking about the staff. And then she took a picture of the woman who was sitting in the seat and put it on Twitter. Now, Ann Coulter, I don't know if you know who she is. She is a like talking head, a political pundit. She's a very alt-right Republican who's very outspoken about the blacks and the immigrants and all the people who aren't white. And she has a large, crazy audience. And so for her to take a picture of somebody and put it on Twitter and expose this woman like this woman had anything to do with this situation is just really terrible and tacky. So Delta Airlines responded with this, which, you know, this was actually a pretty good move in my opinion from Delta Airlines. So they responded with this: we are sorry that the customer did not receive the seat she deserved and paid for. More importantly, we are disappointed that the customer has chosen to publicly attack our employees and other customers by posting derogatory and slanderous comments and photos in social media. Her actions are unnecessary and unacceptable. Each of our employees is charged with treating each other as well as our customers with dignity and respect. And we hold each other accountable when that does not happen. Delta expects mutual civility throughout the entire travel experience. We will refund Miss Coulter's $30 for the prepaid preferred seat on the exit row that she purchased. And I think that's absolutely correct. She is a very Like, I think that whole, just so tacky and, like, uncouth. And I'm just like, I mean, I know she's, like, this harpy of a woman that nobody really likes. Why is she fighting about an extra paid $30 seat in coach? Like, girl, you don't have money? Why aren't you in first class? About a year ago, a University of Virginia student, Otter Warmir, I'm not sure how to say his name, he went to North Korea on some sort of, I guess, like, student travel group or something like that. He went to North Korea, and while he was staying in a hotel, he decided to take a souvenir. He took a poster, a propaganda poster, out of the frame in this hotel in North Korea. It was caught on camera, and when he was at the airport, he was detained for defacing or stealing North Korea property. He went to jail. He was sentenced to 15 years in jail, and he was recently released from jail after being there for, I think, a little over a year. And he was brought back to the United States in a coma and then died 6 days after he made it back stateside. So the North Korean government is not releasing what happened to him. It looks like the evidence on his body, the autopsy shows that it looks like he was tortured in some way. They didn't go to bat. The US did not go to bat for Otto because he went into a foreign country and did something that he wasn't supposed to do. And when this first happened, when we first heard about it, a lot of people, including me, felt like this was a stupid American privilege guy who went over there and acted up, and now he's serving his sentence, and that's what he deserves. I mean, because he's American and privileged, he thought that he could go to another country that has very strict laws about everything. And he thought he would be safe because he was a visitor, and he was not safe. But now that the man has died, it now is like, okay, no, something needs to happen. Like, I'm not saying we need to go to war with North Korea over this, but there needs to be some definite investigating, and they need to come forward, and they need to pay the family or do something. And I think the issue is that the United States is very cautious with it because North Korea is not an ally. North Korea is not someone that they can really hold accountable because North Korea is a threat. And so do you want to go to war or possibly have an entire city or something happen to the American people because this one man went over there and broke laws? Do you want that to happen? It's a diplomatic and it's an international mess, right? North Korea has allies, and that ally is China, and the US does a lot of work with China. So is all of the drama that will ensue worth this one person's life? And I'm not saying that to be callous. I'm just saying that to think about what that means for us. So tell me what you think about that. Anyways, so now they've put a ban on US travel to North Korea, which I don't even know why there was even, I don't know why there would be any Americans who would want to go to North Korea. Maybe we don't take it seriously. I think that's what it is. Because honestly, I don't take North Korea seriously either. They are a threat. And this is not the first American they've done that through. I think since 2009, they say 12 people have been imprisoned in a North Korean jail because of something they did or were perceived to do there in North Korea. It's a mess. So, I mean, I just feel really sad. It's a sad situation, but something needs to be done because I'm tired of them testing them damn missiles, pointing them at countries they shouldn't be pointing. Stay out of the Japanese Sea, okay? Stay away from Hawaii, North Korea. I wonder what Dennis Rodman is going to do. You guys know Kim Jong-un loves Dennis Rodman. Okay, so New Jersey now has risen the age of being able to buy tobacco to 21. I was like, when I saw this law, I was like, this is a stupid law. Like, I don't think you should, I feel like the Republican in me, you know, and that's a weird thing for me to say, but like, I don't think that the US or any government, be it state or federal, should tell people, yes, I don't think like a 15-year-old should smoke cigarettes, but I do think that if at 18 you're of legal age to be able to do whatever, you should be able to buy cigarettes. Like, I don't condone smoking. I don't smoke. I don't want to ever date somebody who's a smoker. I wouldn't want my kids to smoke. But those people who are into that life, like, let them smoke at 18. You tell them they're old enough to be an adult at 18. Why aren't they old enough to make the choice? I mean, if that's the case, then they need to change everything to 21. Just say you're not an adult until you're 21. I can get behind that because I personally don't think you really become an adult until after 21 anyway. But I think most people, like, you're not an adult at 18. Not at all. But anyway, so I was telling my sister this, and she was like, yeah, California has been that too. And I'm like, what? I mean, when I turned 18, the first thing I did was went out and bought some cigarettes and porn because that's the thing I could do. My nose is itching so bad. I don't know why. O.J. Simpson is out of jail. O.J. Simpson. I will never forgive him for the O.J. Simpson trial. I will never forgive him for ruining my daytime television as a child. Anyway, so remember back in 2007, he went to jail for that armed robbery, which I heard about, but I didn't really pay attention to it. This man got sentenced to 9 to 33 years in prison, and he has served 9 of those years, and he is now out on parole. Girl, I did not even know OJ was in jail right now. Like, I knew it, but it's like I hate him so much because he ruined my childhood that I didn't even think about it. Like, this man has been in jail for 9 years, dude. 9 years. Why? Armed robbery? What? Oh man, he is 70 years old. God, for those of you who don't remember the trial, for those of you who weren't in California, I mean, maybe it was all on your TV, but it captivated every single station back in the day, and there was only 5 stations. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes we did not have cable, and so I was forced to watch this damn trial for a year and a half. Judge Ito, Johnny Cochran, Kardashian Sr., like, Marsha, whatever her name was, like, all these names are just embedded in my brain, and I don't even know why. I wonder what Judge Ito is doing. All right, let's move on to some political tea. Here's the tea. Sean Spicer has resigned as press secretary. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is taking his place. I actually don't know who she is. Like, I know I should, and I'm bad. I'm terrible, right? I'm giving you guys the news, and I'm like, who is this? The rumor has it that Sean Spicer quit after 182 days as press secretary in one of, I mean, this administration has got to be very hard. And he gave it the old college try. But rumor has it that he quit because of Anthony Scaramucci, who is the new White House communications director. If I were Sean Spicer, I would have quit 100 days ago. You know what I'm saying? It has been a hard, rocky road for him. And this guy has had to pretend to know what is going on in Trump's head for the last 182 days. And I know it's been hard, you know? I know it has been hard. Anyways, let's talk about Anthony Scaramucci and who he is. He is a hedge fund guy, and he works for a bank right now. Well, before this, he worked for a bank, and he has been a talking head and a supporter of Trump for like a year and a half, and he's known the president for a year. So, you know, like, let's see what happens with this dude. All the information is down below. You guys, John McCain has brain cancer. I've been calling for John McCain to do something, but maybe he's known he's been sick for a while now. It makes me sad. John McCain, as you guys know, ran for president twice. I honestly think that Sarah Palin is the reason why John McCain lost that election. It makes me sad because John McCain is actually a level-headed, reasonable Republican to me. Like, I don't agree with everything that he says, but like, the Maverick really is a good guy. And I just believe that, and I have faith in him, and I really hope the best for him. He's in his 70s, so getting cancer that late in the game, it's really hard on the body. So I imagine he's gonna have to step down from his position for a while, but he's one of the good ones, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let's move on to some international tea. Here's the tea. So let's go back to some communist Asian country. Chyna is in the news today for 2 reasons. So one, last week, Chyna banned the image of Winnie the Pooh because there are a lot of freedom fighters in China who don't want to have a communist country. And so they often have euphemisms or like placeholders when they're talking about the president. So they decided that Winnie the Pooh is going to be the new face of when they're talking about the president. And because of this picture right here, and if you look at this picture, like, I agree with him. He kind of does look like Winnie the Pooh. And the Japanese president kind of does look like Eeyore. China has ways of stopping its people from knowing a lot of different things. China is a part of the global market, which to me doesn't really make them a pure communist country, but they're communist in the fact that, you know, their poor are really poor, and they keep them that way because of the communism, and their middle class is allowed to do more than their lower class is allowed to do, and that's usually what happens with communism, which is why communism does not work. Okay, so that's one thing. And recently, their Nobel Peace Prize winner, I can't say his name, it's like Liu Xiaobo, I'm not sure how to say it. I'm just going to put it up there, but he is a freedom fighter for China. He was there in Tiananmen Square, you know, in the 90s, trying to stop the communist regime from taking over China, and he has been fighting for a while, and he just was in jail for 11 years, and he died recently, and his family had a private ceremony of cremation. And the crazy thing about it is that nobody in China really knows it happened. Most people don't even know who he is because they've scrubbed him out of everything. His name is nowhere on their internet. His name is in nothing in the library. He is like a relic of the past that no one is allowed to talk about. He's celebrated around the world, but in China, it's like nobody wants to talk about him. And they can't talk about him. Even he died in China. He had the opportunity to leave, but he chose to stay there and fight there and not leave outside the country and fight outside. He chose to stay with his people and live there. There was no news coverage done of it in China at all. So now the ex-president of Peru is in jail, him and his wife, for up to 18 months because of corruption charges. So I'm going to be watching that to see how that unfolds. That's so interesting. Like, him and his wife were corrupt and messed up the country, and now the country is holding him responsible, and I say kudos to Peru. Okay, so just as we feared, remember I talked about President Duarte of the Philippines wanting to keep martial law in Marawi, which is the southern part of the Philippines, a series of islands. Yeah, he's asked to extend it to the end of the year. So there's going to be martial law in Marawi, and you know, he's the one who's joking about the soldiers raping women, that he would support that. He's just a terrible man. So martial law means that the military is going to have rule over this part because ISIS is said to be in Marawi. So he's having it be martial law in order to root out ISIS. And I just really hope that the people of the southern part of the Philippines are okay. And I hope that those soldiers don't rape a bunch of women. Shot and killed. You know, black people getting pulled over and shot and killed by the police is a very real thing. But there are other things that happen in other countries. Like whenever I'm like drinking water and I'm like, ugh, I don't like the taste of this water. I think of like the women in the Sudan who have to walk a mile to get water. Ugh! Tax on water in certain places in the world. And I'm just so annoyed with myself. Sometimes I just, you know, you need a dose of international stuff to really sort of like center where you are. I'm a very big proponent of that, you know. I'm a very big proponent of looking at how it could be if you lived somewhere else versus how it is where you are now. Worrying about things that are dumb in your own life when in the bigger picture, there are other things going on. It really helps to take that look, you know, and then just appreciate what you actually have. All right, on that note, you guys, I'm going to end this episode of Morning Tea. If you would like to join the conversation, please leave a comment down below. If you have any questions about the pillow behind me or you would like to donate because you like what I do here on this channel, go ahead and go to my Patreon and become a patron. Check the links down below to see where I got my pillows from. And you guys, remember to be you, be true, and take your place. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a fantastic day. Bye.